Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here, and one thing we've been doing lately is our classics, our Massive Beer Review classics. For me, doesn't get much more classic than this beer right here. More specifically, the red or the Première. I call it red. It says Première in there. Chimay, seminal beer for me. Drank a ton of them. Drank way more Grand Reserve, Chimay Blue. But at the beginning, when I first started drinking beer, it was just easier to get the reds. You know, the Grand Reserve was a little bit pricier. It was actually a little bit harder to get back in the late 90s. And I didn't know which one I wanted to review. I know I wanted to do a Chimay, and I decided on this one from random chance. Basically, I was like, I don't know which one I want to pick up. And I stopped today at a back hole in the wall beer place that really doesn't have good beer. I was actually there to pick up crap beer for a specific reason. I'm sure you'll see that video soon enough. And lo and behold, in this cooler, and they had craft, not anything crazy, but there was a cooler with randomly strewn beers, and I see a cork and cage in the back, and most of it was wine, cold wine, Boon wine, crap wine, and seltzers and stuff. But there was a cork and cage. I was like, what is that? And I'm like, bang, this beat up, label torn Chimay. So I figured, might as well pick it up and we'll do this one. Chimay Red, as I'm concerned. Chimay Première. Bottled by Bières de Chimay, Belgium. 7% alcohol by volume. Their story time on the back of this actually reads, and I don't remember the last time I read this. It was probably 20 plus years ago. Chimay Première is a copper-tinged brown ale that combines generous hints of fruit, toast, and sweet caramel. The Trappist logo certifies that this ale is brewed in a Trappist abbey, that the majority of the sales income is intended for social aid. The exceptional yeast, isolated by Father Theodore, combined with the purity of the highly protected water of the abbey's wells, gives Chimay its unique richness. Since 1862, Chimay's secondary fermented ales have neither been pasteurized nor filtered, and only natural ingredients are used. Beer fermented in the bottle contains barley and wheat. Caution on the pressure. Got your sweet Trappist stamp there. Date. Bottled in 2021. It says L21-790. I assume that is batch 790. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I think it's a lot. The L means year, so 2021. So we're talking about something that's at least 2 years old. Well, give or take, depending on when it was actually produced. Classic design. Always will love the Chimay bottle design, so we'll see what's what. I cannot tell you the last time I had this beer, to be perfectly honest with you. It's always blue. Every now and then I will kind of switch off to, 6 Cents, or what's that one? Oh, man, that thing is carved. What's the other one? What's the Doré? But I cannot remember the last time I actually had a Chimay Red. So I'm kind of pumped for this sucker. Kind of dipping back into all these kind of old school beers that I used to just live on. It's just been one of the funnest kind of rides. Just kind of getting a kick out of them because they're delicious for a reason. We just don't really drink them anymore. So, beer-wise, it looks all the part of a double. Classic double. It has this soft, light, watered out, washed out brown to it. It's not super dark, not super dense. Not going to be confused with a Belgian dark by any stretch of imagination. Even a quads can get close to that color, but it's kind of like this just washed out, heavy duty iced tea kind of look to it. Big fatty head on it. I think it poured it pretty well, but these bottle conditioned Belgian beers are always going to be. I say properly carb, but most people say overly carb, hyper aggressive, especially with a couple of years on it. So it looks the part. It's good nose. Man, it smells really good. Really good. Man, that is rich. Way richer than I thought it was going to be. Way richer. So, you go into this, it's a lighter color, it's a copper tinged hued Belgian brown. So I'm kind of, expecting this nice kind of sweet maltiness, a little bit of breadiness, maybe a little bit of touch of caramel in there, kind of getting that just a little Belgian candy sugar with a little bit of sweet maltiness going on. Man, it is really, really, really kind of really icky, sticky. All the burnt caramelized caramel had a baby with a nice sweet blackstrap molasses. It's that level of richness to it. Super thick, super dense, adult level kind of candy. If you get a really nice, well done kind of a dessert at a high-end restaurant that has that kind of vibe going for it. we're winning here so far. This smells really, really good. There's actually a hop characteristic to this too. I did not expect that. There's a little bit of those kind of like old English style kind of Kent Golding kind of thing going on in there too. But it really is just this rich, sweet malt character in combination with the way that kind of Belgian candy sugar works, in combination with the in combination with the way the yeast kind of brings this kind of like toasty, bready component to it. So it adds this kind of level of character to the malt that brings it up a notch, makes it come off a little bit more sexified. That's a word. I don't think I've ever used sexified ever in a beer review before, but honestly, way more rich and impactful than I thought it was going to be. Again, it's been a very long time, but I did not expect that nose. We're just going to dive in. Cheers, y'all. That's tasty. See, this tastes like beer to me. I know when I talk about beer-flavored beer, when I say that, more often than not, what I'm referencing is kind of lager, just basic beer. But this is really what beer tastes like to me. And it's very much what I kind of grew up on when it comes to learning about beer. It's got an epically lush mouthfeel to it. I mean, that's kind of what you want and what you expect from a lot of these Belgian breweries, and more specifically, Belgian darks, Belgian doubles, Belgian browns. It's very much the thing that American breweries tend to get wrong quite a bit on these Belgian beers. They tend to be either undercarbed or just the mouthfeel tends to be a little bit smaller than what needs to be. That's not the case here. Absolutely super lush mouthfeel. Followed by a nice kind of back and forth between a bittering and a sweetness here. It's not nearly as decadent and as sweet as that nose would lead you to believe, but it's really, really vibrant for a 7% Belgian brown. I kind of just want to call it a double, because that's what it is. And it has a decently aggressive bittering to it. I think that actually is accentuated by a more drying yeast. I mean, Belgian yeasts like these tend to dry off a bit. They're sweeter beer. You have that beet sugar, the Belgian candy sugar working its thing, doing a bit of sweetness in it on there on top of that malt. So you want a little bit of kind of bittering and dryness. I think there's a combination of those hops in combination with the way that kind of dryness of that yeast and how everything finishes kind of accentuates that bitterness a little bit. It's definitely the malt portion of the show here is the sweet, the sugary portion of the show here is the star of the show. Because you just get all the things that I talked about in the nose, but I don't want to say muted, but in a much more reserved kind of way. You're getting that caramel, that burnt caramel. You're getting that little blackstrap molasses. You're getting all that, but it's not nearly as desserty as the nose lead you to believe, but I kind of like it like that. It lends itself to being very, very drinkable. This is coming in at 7% too. It's not a super high ABV beer, but it drinks well above its weight class, especially from what I remember. You know, you try to disassociate yourself from previous thoughts about the beer, but when you're diving into stuff like this that, you know, I've had so many of, it's kind of almost impossible to disconnect yourself. And then drinking, you know, being a Belgian beer lover and drinking the quads of the world, the big beers, the darks of the world, and really dipping back into doubles randomly at time to time, more often than not, it's not that I'm let down. It's just I like that little bit of extra oomph that I get out of your darks and your quads. So I visit the browns and the doubles much less than I should. Big mistake here because it's kind of the soapbox that I stand on with a lot of different beers, and that I want lower ABV with a higher impact. Well, that's what I'm getting here. You know, why am I not drinking this beer? Again, this is going to be kind of a theme, a kind of repetitive theme when it comes to a lot of these beers that I'm going to be reviewing. I don't know why I don't drink these more often. You know what I mean? Because, you know, Chimay Red to me is, you know, almost like has this thing in the back of my brain where it's like, boring, I guess, a little bit, that kind of thing going on. It's certainly not the case here. You know, this is wildly more expressive and big and tasty than I thought it was going to be. And this is the whole reason why we're doing this. Going back and reteaching, relearning these things that we assume about beer. And also just drink some tasty-ass beer at the same time. Super lush mouthfeel. The way that bittering and the dryness that yeast kind of plays on that sweetness, that caramel, that burnt brown sugar, that little bit of blackstrap molasses, that's all kind of comes together in this beautiful drinkable package. Again, and that's probably the thing I want to take away or have you take away from this is the drinkability of this beer in combination with its ABV. You're looking at something that is 7%. and is drinking very much closer to 10%. I think it's fantastic, honestly. And I, full disclosure, again, don't go into these kind of assuming things. I kind of didn't expect that. I kind of been like, yeah, I like this. I remember really liking this beer, but I'm really, really liking this beer to the point where I just don't know why I'm not buying them more often. Again, broken record here when it comes to these classics. I think this is a fantastic beer. You know, Chimay gets a little bit of guff because they're kind of like the leader in the clubhouse, or you say the most widely available and easy to get kind of Trappist ales. But I think they're much maligned in that sense, in that they make an absolutely fantastic beer that I think a lot of people might, you know, if they've had it before, the whole kind of impetus of this video, they just had it before, so they'll wait for the other time, have it again, basically. They pass it by all the time, going, I'll get that some other time. Or they've never had it before, and be like, oh, I want Trappist ale, but I don't really want that. I want West Wiedelins, you know what I mean? Or even to a certain extent, like Rocheforts, you know, even though those are probably as easy to get as Chimay in a certain sense. You know, I think this is a much, much underrated beer. That's not even proper English, but you know what I'm trying to say. And honestly, a fantastic version of a brown/double. More double to me. They call it brown, so that's why we keep referencing that way. And honestly, a goddamn tasty beer. And a beer I'm really glad I picked up. I'm glad I have a whole big bottle of this. This is getting drunk tonight. Drinking the whole thing. Going down. So there you go. I think this is fantastic beer. What do you think? This is the part of the conversation to go, is it one of the better Belgian double, blah, 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 I've had as of late? It's going to be yes. It's going to be probably Mount Rushmore status because I haven't had a lot in a while. Value and availability at Chimay, you can get it pretty easily. I think these can be had around like $10 maybe for $7.50. 750 formats. Let's big ups for that. And go through that whole thing. Sure. Yes, it is Mount Rushmore. Fine. Chimay, talk about your experiences with them. Have you had their beers? Have you had all of their beers? Is there a favorite of yours? I might, you know, off the top of my head, you know, even loving this as much as I do, Grand Reserve is going to be my ticket. But what have you had? Have you been to the brewery? I haven't been. Have you been to the brewery? Have you had the beers there? Did you get into the beer world through the Belgian door? Or some other way? What's your experience? Have you never had this? And if you've never had this, I implore you, pick it up and try it. You're going to drop yourself $10, $12. I don't think that's a lot to spend. Drink it, come back here and tell me what you think. If you're like, man, I don't get it, it's hot garbage, that's all good. You know, I'm not going to yuck your yum, whatever. You like what you like. Just really curious of everybody's experience with this beer. When you've had it. Have you had it for years? Have you had it recently? All that fun stuff. Have you been to the brewery? Down there. So there you go. A little classic in the books again. So hopefully you guys enjoyed our review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little Chimay right now. Hopefully see you next time. Cheers, y'all.